AEW is set up for an amazing 2024. I can just feel it in my bones. Now you, of course, are already planning to spam the comments with live attendance figures, but I'm just going to let you know I don't allow that kind of a number to determine whether or not I enjoy a wrestling show or not. Also, I want to be that guy, but when you do go through the figures, well, AEW is actually doing pretty well. Let's just move on. Instead, I want to talk about the product itself, and I totally believe that Tony Khan's Masterplan is about to come together. Why? Here's why. Now, of course, this isn't just one thing, and instead is a powder keg of joy that is about to explode. But if we are going to start at the start, there's only one name I want to throw at you: Swerve Strickland. Because ever since that amazing death match with Hangman Adam Page, he has been marching towards the main event scene, and he did that by going through the Continental Classic, where he even lost, and that goes to show. Sometimes it's not actually about wins or losses, it's about how you hold yourself and just the aura you put out there. Because right now, you want to come in my house and tell me Swerve isn't ready for a world title run? Well, you totally nuts. I mean, he also got in MJF's face before he had to go away and told Samoa Joe in no uncertain terms that he's a massive goober. So yes, when you are talking about 2024 and plans you have, one of them, probably near the tippity top of the list, should be we give Swerve a damn belt. Because you always want to strike when the iron is hot, and it is there. But the true genius of this is that actually it's not just about Swerve, because we're taking other people and we're also moving them into a very specific position. I mean, Hangman made it clear that he wasn't done with Strickland, even though he happened to win their match at Full Gear. He has lived up to that promise ever since, because do not forget, after Swerve did defeat Daniel Garcia on the episode of AEW Dynamite, the Cowboy marched in there, he got in Swerve's face, and these two had a brawl, and I felt it once again deep down in my tipsy toes. I was like, the chemistry, somebody put it in a test tube. Now, there's nothing groundbreaking here, but what we are doing is we're taking two wrestlers and we're elevating them because of how they interact with another. Look, that doesn't just happen, man. You gotta plan it out. It also sent a lot of people's minds racing to AEW Revolution, because there, maybe, just maybe, we could do Samoa Joe versus Swerve Strickland versus Hangman Adam Page for the AEW World Championship, and to put it in headline form, hook it up to my veins. This also rules as well because you are telling your audience, yes, this belt that we do walk around with, it does mean something, and that's why a bunch of individuals want it, because that's why they got into this business. They want to be the guy. It also feels kind of more important because both Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page are basically homegrown talent. I mean, Hangman absolutely is. And while Strickland did go through the NXT system, it's within All Elite Wrestling where he's really found his wings. That's one of the reasons I find myself being a fan of it. So it just feels like we have the aura of two guys who are about to break out, and that should be the way in 2024. Also, Hangman Adam Page has a new badass beard now. What else do you want? I mean, it just seems to be converging all at the right time. And listen, I know this sends people crazy, but I do understand where individuals are coming from when they do say, oh my gosh, this is like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. Now, I don't think they mean all of a sudden these two wrestlers are going to completely change wrestling. But in terms of looking at them and feeling they have some kind of relationship, yeah, I can see it too. So it really should just be a consistent story throughout the year. But when you are talking about the first half of 2024, well, there's another name for you. It's Bryan Danielson. Now, we actually got some more clarity recently after his awesome match with Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 18, where he did say, sure, in 2024, I am not going to be a full-time wrestler anymore, but hopefully I can still wrestle 5 to 10 matches. Now, in terms of us watching the television, that's barely any, but for him, well, he could still work the majority of AEW pay-per-views. Ooh-da-lally. It also kind of feels like his endpoint is going to be at All In Wembley Stadium. And if Tony Khan has planned that down too, then I tell you, we can start to pull the trigger on this, and you're going to get an explosion of love. Because Danielson does still have a bunch of opponents he needs to scrap it out with before he does walk off kind of into the sunset. And surely Danny Garcia is going to be one of those guys, just given what's happened on Dynamite recently. But also, when Kenny Omega is good to come back, you have to do round 2 there as well. We need it. I mean, you can absolutely do that in London too, and I also want to see Bryan Danielson versus Pac, Bryan Danielson versus Orange Cassidy, Bryan Danielson versus Malachi Black, Bryan Danielson versus Darby Allin, Bryan Danielson versus Buddy Matthews, and a bunch of others I will have forgotten. But then there's also Nigel McGuinness. I mean, there has just been way too much smoke to not do something like this in 2024, and given their histories, once again, maybe that's the match you do it All In. It wouldn't be a hard sell to this audience either, who does seem to be very intellectual when it comes to the past of wrestling, and when you did start promoting it, I tell you, there'll be a bunch of people that would not be able to believe it. I mean, like 15 years ago, whatever it was, they used to literally headbutt each other. I haven't even mentioned Will Ospreay, which is another thing we need to get to. And given that we do know where this is headed, you have to imagine we're going to build a story around this. And it is Bryan Danielson, after all. Do you think he's going to half-ass anything? No. He's probably going to go the other way. So we may be in for 6 months worth of Match of the Year contenders. I don't see how it gets any better than that. Now, there are other aspects to this as well, however, although I just want to go in a slightly different direction for now and talk about someone that we don't even know where she's going to turn up. But it is Mercedes Moné. Because she would be an absolutely massive signing, as she is one of the hottest, if not the hottest free agent in the world. But it would also actually tap into what AEW seems to be doing with their women's division at the moment. Because you have everything with the TBS title at the moment, as Julia Hart, Willow Nightingale, and Chris Statlander do their thing. But when it comes to the AEW Women's Championship, well, you've got Timeless Toni Storm, you've got Mariah May, and you've got Deonna Purrazzo. I mean, that's great all within itself. If Mercedes does come in, though, as the bright light of the division, and she does exactly what we know she can do, well, this thing could be totally great. Because she is a star no matter what, and surely she would have had assurances from Tony Khan that's the way she's going to be treated, which is obviously the right way. And if you do put her at the top, and you let her shine, well, I actually think you could open the door for a really, really good year when it does come to women's wrestling. I mean, her versus Toni Storm alone would be amazing, especially because they do have history back in WWE. But then all of the names that just came out of my mouth would also work, as would somebody like Britt Baker. And again, you can say whatever you want in the comments, but if all of a sudden for something like, I don't know, Revolution, we are advertising Baker versus Moné, that's just money, my friends, which is a terrible word for me to use, but I've done it, let's move on. I've not even touched upon the likes of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage either, who are going to do wonders with that TNT title, because they're wrestling geniuses. And then we have Sting. I mean, his retirement has already sold out the Greenboro Coliseum. So just to tie it back into the title, the plan on paper looks pretty damn good. So I just think these kind of tentpoles are going to tie into the dreams that Tony Khan has for this year. And if they do go the way I assume they will, it is going to be an absolutely wild ride. And sure, you may be a negative Nancy going, Simon, I think you're wrong. But then again, I think you're going to be surprised. And as we are here just throwing things out in the ether, let's go and sign Mustafa Ali as well. I just think that guy is great. When we get to November as well, we're going to have to book the Continental Classic, and I would use that as a tipping off point in the sense that when we do get there, if AEW has done everything that I know they can do, and they finish with one hell of a good tournament, well, they can sit back and say to themselves, that'll do, pig. That'll do. Now, as ever, it is your voice that is the most important one, so please do make sure you let me know in the comments below what you think. But don't get into this tribalism nonsense. I mean, it's really boring. Okay, you prefer WWE? I don't care. You can also click the video on the screen to see 10 amazing WrestleMania pictures that didn't happen. And of course, we are on the road to WrestleMania. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. And otherwise, I give you a salute, and I say thank you for joining me today, my friends. My name was Simon Miller, and yes, I am a bored a-hole. You don't need to tell me. I already know.